Greetings, fellow Watford fans. Omar here with another Orns 10-minute take on Manchester United nil, Watford nil, and that was the final score at Old Trafford today. A battling point for Watford. Some may say a fortunate point for Watford, but however you look at it, Watford come away with a clean sheet from Old Trafford. Roy Hodgson's third clean sheet in his 6 games in charge at Watford. And this one was a game where you would have expected, by the judging of the first half of the game, Manchester United to have had a romp, but it was not to be. And the key that it was not to be, the first moment and the first hint that this was not going to be Manchester United's day was when Ronaldo, one of the world's greatest players to play the game, hits the bar in the first 5 minutes of the game. 5 minutes in, he hits the bar with only Ben Foster to beat. And that is very un-Ronaldo like. Watford continued to dig in, and despite being at sixes and sevens, found a way to get to half time at 0-0. And Manchester United continued to dominate the ball, dominate the possession. And Watford, by the way, at one point in that first half, even with Manchester United's dominance, had 40% of the possession at Old Trafford in the first half for the first 24 minutes or so. That is quite a feat when you consider that Watford did not do a lot going forward. In the second half, a more dogged Watford, a better defensively organized Watford, a better and more confident defensively organized Watford was the difference in this one, as they continued to meet every challenge of Manchester United at every moment in that second half. They stayed switched on, made no mistakes, and played a very battling defensive second half as they improved their defense, but they just couldn't get anything going forward, as Watford were very stagnant in attack. Once again, it's happened so many times this season. No one supporting the forward line player when that forward line player has the ball, and there are two or three, in this case, Manchester United defenders on him. No help given to him. There's no outlet ball because there's no secondary Watford player available to get that ball when the forward player has 3 defenders on him, and he ends up losing the ball. That was a very frustrating thing. Another frustrating thing was to see Watford charging up the field on numerous occasions on the counter attack with numbers, with 2 or 3 Watford players, and there was some bizarre reason for a Watford player to hold up play and allow Manchester United defenders to get back into position, and the game slowed down. There was some reason why Watford players would choose to pass the ball backwards instead of keep driving in on goal and give that goalkeeper in the goal, Mr. David De Gea, something to think about. Why, oh, why do Watford continue to do this? This is the most frustrating thing about the forward line play. No imagination, no good decision making came today in that forward line, and no link up play that was sufficiently good enough to give Watford any kind of impetus to win the game. Although Ismail Assar's shot right near the end of the game was a woulda, coulda, shoulda, and just went wide of the post for David De Gea's goal. De Gea didn't have a thing to do all day long. And that really is a testament to just how poor things were in the attack for Watford today. Again, no movement, no invigoration, no endeavor, no imagination or energy or cohesiveness, and no team support going forward. There simply was not enough of that. In fact, it was non-existent today going forward. And this is a game, despite the fact that Manchester United had ever so many chances to bury us in this one. This is a game that Watford still could have won, as I said, in the very last minute of the game. Saw with a shot that just went wide. And you just look at the chances in this game, and the chances that Watford had on the counter today were many more and plentiful. And then in the game against Palace that they played the other night, and Watford just did not go forward with more attacking vigor. You could say that it's a matter of lacking confidence. You could say it's a matter of lacking belief. You could say it's down perhaps to the formations and the way that Roy Hodgson wants these players to play. You could say a number of things, but there really is no excuse, countless upon countless upon countless occasion, for Watford players to have the ball and have the numbers going forward and then only to slow down and pass the ball backwards. We have to start scoring goals. That is my one criticism in this game. There was just no real endeavor and effort to put pressure on the Manchester United goal. We were only too content when we went forward to go and pass the ball backwards, having forayed into Manchester United's half. It was immensely frustrating to watch. And my suggestion would be when you have that ball, just keep going forward, just keep driving into the box. Even if you don't have enough runners with you, just keep going into the box, get into the box, and then wait. Maybe in the 6 yard area, the 18-yard box. Then you wait for maybe a player or two to try to come in and help you and support you. If not, just go in on goal, take a shot at the goal, do something. Show De Gea that you're willing to make his palm sting. Do something. And that's the thing that Watford lacked today for me in the forward play. No support, no teamwork going forward, no extra man available to help Dennis, who was constantly being met by a triple bank of defenders, and no outlet ball for him to pass to. So he ends up losing the possession. If a Watford player had joined him or at least ran up and give him some space and an outlet pass, maybe they could have kept the attack going. But that has not happened. And surely Roy Hodgson and Ray Lewington surely have noticed this now and must make some adjustments with this. And to that end, I wish that João Pedro had played today. He did not. He was on the bench for this game. I would have loved to have seen him start instead of Josh King. And I think now the remit must be to make some changes here for the game on Sunday week against Arsenal, because Josh King is just not getting it done, is he? Just not getting it done. And João Pedro has scored, apart from the goals that we've seen lately, of course, from Dennis and the goal from Sissoko the other night. The only other goal scorer this whole calendar year for Watford has been João Pedro, scoring once in the league and once in the FA Cup against Leicester. And that is all we have. We need to have João Pedro on this pitch. Josh King has not scored since late November against Leicester in the snowball game, as I call it, against Leicester in the Premier League, right near the end. I think it's November the 28th was the last time Josh King scored. And now we are going to go into March, and Josh King still has not scored. And that is worrying. That is a real problem. 3 months will have gone by, and Josh King will not have scored for this club. You've got to put João Pedro in that starting lineup now. If he was well enough to be on the bench, he has to be well enough, surely, to start the game. And the fact that Watford have 9 more days now before this game against Arsenal on the 6th of March, that should give you all the impetus now to rest João Pedro, get him ready, and get him in the starting lineup. We need him desperately to start scoring goals for us. He is someone who has the ingenuity. He's got a little devil in him. He will take the game on. He's forward thinking. He will have a shot at goal. He won't be passing backwards. That is not João Pedro. He is a man who goes forward on a mission, a man on a mission to go, 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 and bear down on goal and take a shot at it. That is João Pedro. That man must start for Watford next week against Arsenal at the Vic. And it is imperative that Watford do not go backwards in terms of performance after this, I think, very battling point today at Old Trafford. Very important that Watford do not revert to bad habits as they have after either getting a point or a win on the road, particularly. It's very important that they come back to the Vic against Arsenal with a fighting mentality and mindset and intensity and a desire. It is critically important that Watford get 3 points here against Arsenal. Watford's confidence surely lifted by this 0-0 performance against Manchester United by getting that point, but they have got to sustain this. Other teams are beginning to sustain their performances and pick up more points consecutively. Now, Watford have to stitch that together as well. But look on the bright side here for Watford. That's 3 clean sheets for Roy in 6 games. That's 2 consecutive clean sheets away from home. And that's also 2 consecutive games away from home unbeaten. That is the longest stretch that Watford have gone this season on the road in the Premier League without losing. That is at least an improvement for Watford. I think today in this game against Manchester United, Sissoko was outstanding. I thought his defending was really the difference in key parts of the game, although I must say that look, he's had some very good games and he has some games where he disappeared. I should say that Sissoko, I think, committed the bulk of this match to defending. And then when he went forward, he was mostly very effective and a lot more energetic, and he had a lot more fire in his belly, it seemed, for this game than he has had in some of the games lately. But the real star of the game was Samir. Samir was absolutely outstanding for Watford in the back. He was very good last week against Aston Villa. He held his own Today, he more than held his own against all of these marauding Manchester United players who looked each one who looked as if they could score. But Samir was the difference. A massive, massive, massive presence in that Watford defense. Samir, I tell you, he and Craig Cathcart together are an excellent team. And Samir, excellent partnership. And Samir is absolutely worth his weight in gold and then some. Today was another example of why Samir is so valuable and important to this Watford side. Also, a shout out as well to Hassan Kamara, who had a very important and very good game as well. Imran Louza was not bad either. He had a pretty good game. But Ismail Assar, who had the shot near the very end of the game, not quite on it today. Emmanuel Dennis was busy. He had good runs, but again, not enough support for him. Watford players have got to start supporting and supplementing better balls, more energy, more speed, and more commitment and passion. I wanted to see more tackles go in today. There weren't as many until the very near the very end of the game. But Watford have to start laying tackles on these teams against Arsenal in a week and a bit's time at the Vic. They have got to start laying in tackles on these Arsenal players to let Arsenal know that they are there. Do not be passive against Arsenal and be committed defensively. And don't be afraid to go forward against Arsenal. Don't be afraid. We know Arsenal are a very good team. You can't be afraid in this league. You've got to be fearless. And I think João Pedro is the one player on this team who is fearless. He is someone who is going to keep going for it no matter what. And I think Roy must start João Pedro. Today, though, a very good point indeed. Fortunate point, yeah, but you know what? We'll take it. We will definitely take this point at Old Trafford. That's a very, very good point and a very important point that will give the lads confidence going into the game against Arsenal on a Sunday week. This has been the Orns 10-minute take.